Enter player 1.
Before we begin, a spoiler warning, not a gentle one. This script openly discusses major events from the Fallout television series, including things that were revealed roughly 5 minutes ago in real-world time. If that bothers you, pause now, go watch the show, and come back emotionally prepared. Everyone else, proceed. Shady Sands began as one of the most fragile ideas in the Fallout universe, which is exactly why its destruction matters so much. It did not rise from advanced technology, hidden vault experiments, or pre-war military power. It began with people who survived, stayed put, and decided that rebuilding was worth the risk. Founded by survivors connected to Vault 15, Shady Sands appeared in Fallout 1 as a modest desert settlement. It was small, vulnerable, and constantly threatened, but it was also different. Where much of the Wasteland survived by scavenging, raiding, or hiding behind walls, Shady Sands chose permanence. They planted crops, they formed laws, they believed that the old world was not something to be worshipped or feared, but something to be replaced. That belief was dangerous, but it worked. Over time, Shady Sands grew from a village into a city, and from a city into the political and ideological center of what would become the new California Republic. By Fallout 2, Shady Sands was no longer simply surviving the wasteland, it was governing it. The Republic formed around the idea that civilization could return through structure, representation, and cooperation rather than domination. Roads were rebuilt, trade routes were protected, taxes were collected, courts were established. The wasteland did not become safe, but it became predictable. And in Fallout, predictability is power. Shady Sands was the proof of concept. It demonstrated that humanity could recover without repeating the exact hierarchies that destroyed the old world. That is why it became the capital of the Republic. Not because it was the strongest city, but because it represented the values the Republic wanted to believe in. Order without tyranny. Expansion without annihilation. Law without absolute control. That optimism carried the Republic far, but it also sowed the seeds of its vulnerability. As the Republic expanded, it began to resemble the very systems it had once positioned itself against. Territory grew faster than infrastructure. Military protection outpaced civilian oversight. Political influence became centralized in Shady Sands, creating distance between the capital and the frontier settlements that bore the real cost of expansion. Cities like the Hub, Dayglow, Maxson, and Adytum became vital components of the Republic's economy and security, but they were also increasingly dependent on decisions made far away by people who had never stood watch against raiders or rationed water during a drought. Shady Sands became powerful, and with power came inertia. Bureaucracy slowed response times. Corruption crept into contracts and command structures. The Republic still believed in its ideals, but belief alone did not guarantee stability. Fallout has always treated progress with suspicion, and the Republic was no exception. Then the crater appeared. In the Fallout television series, Shady Sands is no longer a city. It is a scar, a massive crater where the capital of the Republic once stood, silent and undeniable. The show does not linger on spectacle for long. It does not need to. The implication does the work. A city that survived the nuclear apocalypse, the master, super mutant armies, and decades of political turmoil did not fall to chance. It was destroyed deliberately. That matters. Shady Sands was not just a population center. It was the symbolic heart of post-war civilization. Its destruction was not merely tactical. It was ideological. Hank McLean was not trying to win a battle. He was erasing a future. The crater reframes everything we thought we knew about the Republic's decline. In earlier games, the Republic was weakening through overreach, corruption, and exhaustion. The show accelerates that trajectory into something far more violent and intentional. This was not a slow collapse, it was a decapitation. With the capital gone, the Republic loses more than leadership, it loses legitimacy. The Republic was held together by shared belief in law and continuity. Without Shady Sands, there is no unquestioned centre, no symbolic anchor, power fragments, and when power fragments, local survival replaces national identity. What follows is not immediate collapse, but something arguably worse. The Republic becomes a memory that still has armies, flags, and officers, but no clear authority. Settlements that once relied on Shady Sands for coordination now rely on each other or themselves. Regional leaders rise, old alliances are tested. The Republic becomes less a unified state and more a coalition bound together by habit, necessity, and the lingering idea that it might still matter. This brings us to the question that matters most after the crater. If Shady Sands is gone, how does the Republic still exist at all? The answer lies in the Republic's other cities. Los Angeles, often referred to as Adytum, predates the Republic itself. It was a major population center even before formal unification. Its survival is not dependent on Shady Sands alone. It has trade networks, population density, and strategic value that would allow it to function independently if necessary. With Shady Sands destroyed, Adytum likely becomes one of the Republic's primary administrative and logistical centers by default, even if it never officially replaces the capital. Power does not disappear. It relocates. The hub remains the economic engine. Trade has always been the Republic's true lifeblood, and the hub controls the flow of goods, currency, and information across the Wasteland. Even with the capital destroyed, caravans still move, merchants still negotiate. As long as the hub stands, the Republic retains the ability to fund armies, provision settlements, and exert influence without direct occupation. Dayglow, irradiated and resilient, represents something else entirely. It is a reminder that survival does not require comfort. Dayglow's population has endured conditions that would cripple other cities, and that endurance translates into manpower, industry, and institutional stubbornness. Dayglow does not need to be optimistic, it only needs to persist. Maxson, with its military-industrial heritage, becomes increasingly important in a post-capital republic. Whether directly tied to the Republic's command structure or operating semi-autonomously, Maxson provides the tools of enforcement. Arms manufacturing, training facilities, and hardened personnel become essential when legitimacy alone can no longer hold territory. Together, these cities explain how the Republic survives the loss of Shady Sands. It does not survive as it once was. It survives as a decentralized state with overlapping centers of power, each preserving a piece of the old Republic's function. No single city replaces the capital. Instead, the Republic becomes distributed. That distribution is fragile, but it is also adaptive. This context is critical when considering the final episode of the second season of the Fallout television series, which shows the Republic and the Legion converging on New Vegas. On the surface, this seems contradictory. If the Republic has lost its capital and suffered a catastrophic blow, how does it still field a fighting force capable of returning to the Mojave in strength? The answer is that the Republic's military capacity was never centralized entirely in Shady Sands. Even during its peak, the Republic maintained regional commands, garrisons, and reserve forces spread across its territory. The Mojave campaign itself, long before the destruction of Shady Sands, demonstrated that the Republic could project power far from its core, albeit imperfectly. After the capital's destruction, those existing structures do not vanish. If anything, they become more autonomous. Regional commanders no longer wait for directives from a city that no longer exists. They act based on precedent, necessity, and survival. New Vegas represents more than a strategic objective. It is a symbol. Control of New Vegas means control of infrastructure, energy, water, and the narrative of dominance in the post-war West. For the Republic, returning to New Vegas is not about nostalgia. It is about proving that the Republic still matters. This also explains why the Republic's forces in the show feel less pristine and more desperate. This is not the confident expansionist army of earlier decades. This is a coalition army drawn from multiple regions, unified by shared threat rather than centralized command. Equipment is mismatched. Doctrine varies. Morale is driven as much by fear of extinction as by belief in ideals. The Legion's presence sharpens this reality. The Legion does not rely on cities, trade networks, or political legitimacy. It relies on domination, obedience, and terror. Against a fractured republic, the Legion thrives. Against a republic that chooses to unify one last time, the conflict becomes existential. Speculation about how the Republic assembles its force for New Vegas leads to a likely conclusion. The Republic calls in every favor it has left. Regional governors contribute troops to protect their own interests. Merchant houses fund campaigns because trade collapses without stability. Cities like the Hub and Adytum recognize that if New Vegas falls permanently to the Legion, the Republic's western territories become indefensible. This is not a return to empire. It is a last consolidation. Shady Sands' destruction removes the illusion that civilization is inevitable. It forces the Republic to confront the reality that progress is fragile and reversible. The Republic's return to New Vegas is not a restoration of the old order. It is a gamble that the idea of the Republic is still worth bleeding for. Whether that gamble succeeds remains uncertain, but thematically, Fallout has already answered the deeper question. Shady Sands did not fail because it tried to rebuild. It failed because rebuilding attracts enemies who benefit from ruin. The crater is not a condemnation of hope. It is a warning about complacency. In the end, the Republic's fate mirrors the city that founded it. It survives as long as people choose to defend it, not because it is perfect, but because the alternative is worse. Shady Sands is gone, but the idea it represented still moves armies, fuels conflicts, and drags the world forward against its will. Whether that idea can survive another war is the question Fallout has always been asking, and it is one the Wasteland has never answered kindly.